At this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Ross for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board and our community. It's an honor to be here as we start our school year, get it kicked off right. We are very proud of good news rolling in. As U.S. News and World Report's high school rankings have been released, ranking School District 5 among the top schools in the Columbia area. So congratulations to Irmo High School. If you remember the last time of their ranking at 21, to see the advancement that they are making within the rankings, we're very proud of that. Dutch Fork High School at number 3 in the Columbia area. And in addition to that, Chapin High School, number 2 in the Columbia area, followed only with Spring Hill as number 1. So we're very proud of the rankings of our high schools. When you look at these reports, and you see the college readiness rate of School District 5. There's only one district in the state that outranks us, but number 1 in the Midlands for preparing our students for college readiness. So we're very proud of our schools and our school districts. And this is not just a celebration for the high schools. This celebration goes all the way to our elementary schools and our what we do with family services and how we work with students in pre-K. So it's a celebration for our entire system, because that's what we are, a system guided by 3 critical questions. Why do we do this work? How do we accomplish that why? And then what are our outcomes? Our why is that we love and grow our students. Our how is that we're focused on academic, social, emotional growth and development. And then our what is our strategic plan. Our strategic plan is our 4 performance goals with 24 strategies to ensure that every child feels loved in our schools and has demonstrated academic growth in our schools. We are 1 year away from completing our 5-year strategic plan, and because of that, we're going to be moving on to establishing our next 5-year plan. That process will begin in January of this school year as we prepare for the 2028 to 2032 5-year strategic plan. Currently, we're working on over 160 different action steps within our current strategic plan to ensure that every student feels loved in our schools and has demonstrated academic growth. As a district this year, we're focusing on supporting the whole child, the whole teacher and staff, and the whole district as we make these changes. We talked about the goal of every school is to ensure that that strategic plan is measured not only in the academic achievements, but in the quality of experiences that we give to our students and staff and families. And as a result, putting every school within our district in the high love and high growth area. And so to do that, one of the things that we need to do is focus on how do we tier our interventions to ensure that we can move into this area. And we rely heavily on what's called MTSS, or multi-tiered support services. I want to draw everyone's attention to Tier 1 instruction. That's our number 1 intervention that we use is our Tier 1 instruction. There's a lot of discussion about what are students learning in classrooms? What are teachers teaching in classrooms? Well, the Office of Academics has put together on the academics page a proficiency and success criteria link. I encourage all parents, all community members, those who are interested in what goes on in our classrooms to visit this page. The academics team has worked very hard to ensure that all of our classes and all of the expectations by quarter are listed here. So if you click those links, you can see what does the 3rd grader need to learn in the first quarter. Or if my child is in algebra or pre-algebra in middle school, what do they need to learn right now in the first quarter of school? If they're taking a high school class in world history, all of those topics, all of those success criteria are listed for them. We use the words I can statements. Those I can statements are what parents can get involved with right now to help our students ensure that they can meet those academic requirements and be aware of what's expected of them when they get to school. Our belief is that transformation starts in the heart. We want to move students from I can't do this, I'm not good at math, not good in science, not good in reading or social studies or arts or sports, to I can. And we believe that transformation starts in the heart. So with that, we are very proud of the work that we're doing in our schools each and every day towards that goal of our strategic plan. I want to make our community aware of a virtual town hall that will be taking place tomorrow. This is in response to our data security incident, and we want to invite, if you are able to attend on Tuesday, August the 26th from 6 to 7, we will host a virtual town hall. We have FBI's Joint Terrorist Task Force member and FBI SWAT team member, Jack Jumpin, who was joining us, giving us his expertise on what families can do to understand what happened in the data security incident, but also give a call to action, give us all tools how we can navigate in this ever-changing world of cybersecurity. And so we're proud to be able to call on our experts. We've been very fortunate to have the work of SLED and our partners, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and now federal law enforcement to help us against these cyber threats. So again, if you can join it, if you're not able to join, this will be taped and posted on our website. Members of the community are able to submit questions online up through 9 o'clock tomorrow. We will take in these questions to tailor our work towards the questions of the community and our families. Also wanted to make the board aware that we'll be asking for, at minimum, discussion of a budget amendment on October the 22nd. If you look at our updated board planning calendar, this is our budget and staffing planning calendar for the year. I know it's hard to see from your seats here, but this is how we get through a budget season. Every group has a part to play in establishing our annual budget. But if you look at the superintendent's line under October, that is the budget amendment has been moved from January to October of this year. Why are we moving this? In your package, you see the 10-day report that has been posted. We are down over 600, I believe 627 students from 10 days of last year. That will have impact on our state revenue. As a result, we want to reevaluate where we're going to be at the funding cut point of the 45th day. So this is an early indication of reduction of state aid to classroom. And so we are going to be looking to see where we land on October the 9th. That's the 45th day of school. And we're going to look at reassigning funds to cover any shortfalls due to state aid to classroom reductions. So we're asking right now that any increases that we should make be linked to local, state, and federal compliance requirements as we go through this budget amendment process. I think we are in a good place to, with our current budget and what I call parachutes built into the budget to take us through this year. But I want to make sure that we are aware, given the 10th day count, that we're able to make a plan for a budget amendment conversation as early as October the 27th. Before we move to the academics report, are there any questions regarding anything that was covered?
Any questions?
At this time, we're going to have our academics report, and making our way to the lectern is our Chief Academics Officer, Ms. Tina McCaskill.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Ross, Board. Nice to be back with you tonight. I'm going to start off with a video that we started our Teaching and Learning Conference with August the 4th, just as an example of what we really are about in academics.
To achieve great things. but doing great things
On behalf of the Royal Swedish Academy of Science, I convey
is not only measured by our successes,
and I now ask you to step forward to receive your Nobel Prize.
but by striving for excellence, by raising our standards, by expecting the impossible.
But this is basic research, and we're pioneering out here, and a lot of great science.
We may call this a fool's hope, that one person can have an impact on humanity. But we have been proven wrong before. We have proven that we can always dig deeper, that what led us here will lead us further, that it's in the details where greatness is achieved, that small steps lead to giant leaps.
So we started our conference on August the 4th for teaching and learning with that video, and I tied that within a short presentation for the teachers to just help them understand the importance of believing, and just like I talked with you about the last time, the high effect size of belief and what we can do and what students can do. And this came out of last March, a conversation I was having with coordinators and just talking about our Lead D5 professional development and what is it that we could do a little different to try to meet the needs of our staff. And of that came the kind of the dream of making it a conference, and then developed into what really was the conference. And it totally had everyone in the district involved. We had bus drivers helping us with shuttles back and forth from Chapin Middle to Spring Hill High School for this particular part of the conference. We had student council at Spring Hill. They were our directors to help people find their way. We had a total of 112 unique presentations for the day and 143 sessions that were offered that morning for teachers to choose where they wanted to go and where they needed to grow, and so they were able to make that decision. They were all wrapped around PLCs and the 4 questions, so all of the presentations were linked to one of the 4 questions, so that it was very strategic and very specific about the learning that took place that day. So we were excited about that. I'm very excited for the teamwork, the work that academics put in, and just all of the district that came together for that day. It truly was teamwork, so I appreciate that. Something to celebrate. And then the next one, we also developed the Champions of Support, and with, again, technology, Office of Technology partnered with us to plan this, and we had at Dutch Fork High School, we had 30 sessions. 22 of those were unique sessions, but our bus drivers were actually working that day because they were running shuttles. Our custodians had to work because they were helping us keep the facilities going. And then our cafeteria staff had their own sessions at the same time that were taking place. So that is in addition to those things that were going on. I do want to say that we had 2 businesses, 2 partnerships with Lake Murray Drug and Vivid Aesthetics who actually donated money so that we could get gift cards, and the presenters were all placed in a drawing, and they were able to get gift cards for being willing to present, because our presenters were our teachers and our staff. And so we did have some of our vendors that came in and did some of the professional development for curriculum and things like that, but for the most part, it was our staff that provided the professional development, so we learned from each other. So really excited about that, and hope that we'll continue to grow that in the future as well. So now I'm going to ask Mr. Prigge, our Director of CTE, to come up and talk to you a little bit about some changes that have taken place with that credentials.
Thank you, Ms. McCaskill, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Ross. Thank you for this opportunity to present this evening. As of August 20th, this is the new certifications for students to be completers in CTE has actually been finalized and taken effect. It's hot off the press. Okay, the tiered credential system is approved by the South Carolina Education Oversight Committee, and they have approved the new tiered credential system to better align high school credentials with workforce needs. Beginning with 10th graders in the 25-26 school year, credentials will be classified as introductory, which is a tier 1, intermediate, which is tier 2, and career ready, tier 3, enabling students to progress from entry level to industry recognized credentials. To earn a credential, students must complete a CTE program and achieve at least 3 points through approved combinations. When they say tiered, that's the points, okay? Uh-oh, there we go. I thought I broke it. All right, under the tiered system, a tiered 1 is 1 point, which is the introductory certification. It's basic skills validation, regional industry recognition, entry-level attainment. For an example, the OSHA 10 certification is a tier 1. Another one that is the basic CPR, first aid, and AED. Tier 2, which is 2 points, that's the intermediate, industry recognized, hiring consideration, pathway-based, and workforce readiness. For those that drive cars, you go to the repair shop and you see a sign that says ASE accredited repair shop. All those certifications under ASE, for example, one that we're required to do by the State Department is brakes. Those are tier 2, okay? Tier 3, which is 3 points, that is career ready, industry alignment, job market demand, economic outcomes, stackability, and career pathways, and it's administered by a third party. An example of that is the National Health Science Exam, which is a tier 3, because that is their final step before they leave health science and go into post-secondary or some type of OJT program at a hospital or a clinic. Another tiered 3 is the, I just read this, the EMT, Emergency Medical Technician, which goes through the EMS program that we have at Irma High School. That is a tiered 3 because with that certification, they can go right on the job and be running ambulances after a probationary period, of course. All right, the tiered system requirements, this at first was a little confusing, but one tier 3 credential, they're good to go. That's their 3 points. Now, they can have a combination of tier 2 plus a tier 1 to get their 3 points, but it has to be in their career pathway. For an example, if you have an automotive pathway and they do a tier 1 in a business course, it won't count toward their 3 points. It has to be in their designated pathway. Universal credential as OSHA 10 paired with a tier 2 or higher credential within the student's career pathway. We also have soft skills, personal skills. That's a tier 1, and partner that with a tier 2 as an ASE, and they're good to go. As I said, students cannot mix and match credentials from different career pathways, okay? The State Department has designated under the new cluster system the certifications that count for that cluster. For an example, again, in automotive, they don't normally do the OSHA 10 safety. They'll do what's called SP2, which is safety and pollution control, because that's a requirement for the field. And that particular one is a Tier 1 plus an ASE exam. They'll have their 3 points. Okay, questions? I know it was pretty quick. Like I said, the final decision from the State Department came out last week.
Mr. Satterfield?
Yeah, I don't have a question about the tier system. I was just curious, has our enrollment, how are we doing with the Cates Center with our enrollment? Are we picking it up a little bit, or is it?
Here at the center,
Yes, sir.
we have picked up this year because we've added one new program. We added 43 students to the HVAC program, and we have, for an example, automotive again, we have a waiting list. Welding, we have a waiting list, and students want to be here. And overall, throughout the district, I don't have the numbers yet this year, but last year, 6 through 12 in CTE, we had 3,806 students. And we're projecting to be a little bit higher than that this year across the district.
Dr. Ross, do you anticipate when we get this big earth mover situation and those numbers picking? I mean, I should ask the director.
Oh, yeah, I was going to turn it over to the director for the details, but to be honest, and he's been a little modest, if you talk about the capacity fill rate when you came in to where we are now and why the expansion will help us.
And we do expect, we have to crawl before we can walk. But in the heavy equipment operator, we're expecting the same addition like we did with HVAC this year, between 40 and 50 students. And then we'll grow from there.
Pick it up, yeah.
And we'll also, the plan also there is to expand the welding program facility so we can have more students and not have this huge waiting list that we do now. And the building construction, we're going to have a bigger space there so we can add students there, which is another program that has a waiting list.
Well, I want to just brag on you just for a second. I recently had an issue with my air conditioning with all this heat, and they sent 2 guys out. One of them was a Dutch Fork High School student who had enrolled in this program, and the supervisor was bragging on this guy, said he was very well trained, very well educated, and wished he could get more folks like that. So I know you got a line of a waiting list, so to speak, for HVAC, but I just want to tell you thank you for that.
Well, and I appreciate that comment. We have right now 4 local area businesses that are partnered with us. Matter of fact, last Thursday we had a delivery of some scratch and dent type air conditioners and furnaces that were donated for the HVAC program. And we'll go along the same lines with the new equipment operator, because I've already started developing a steering committee for that.
Anybody else? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you all. Oh, I didn't know where you went.
I didn't want to scare you. Okay, so let's get into some instructional technology. On July the 21st, we talked a little bit about e-learning, and I just wanted to bring that back just as a reminder that we do have a D5 e-learning plan, and I've linked there the e-learning handbook as well. Some changes from the state, I wanted to make sure that I point those out with e-learning, but the instruction has to be provided in form of online meetings and or provided videos and audio. The lessons provided should require a minimum of 200 minutes of instruction that can be video, reading, listening. additional time for student engagement, studying, and work completion. You have to have 130 minutes for K through 8 and 160 minutes for 9 through 12. So the total minutes is 5.5 hours for K through 8 and 6 hours for 9 through 12. So whenever we have an e-learning day, the new requirements would have to be consistent with what the new state guidelines have for us. And then I also provided you with a copy of the South Carolina Computer Science and Digital Literacy Standards. That's K through 12. Really want to call attention to that. If you look at page 7, that's the first one. It actually repeats every time that there is a grade level for that. But on page 7, you'll see that it talks about the process standards for digital literacy. And when you look at those are not things that you can go through and you can like click, 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 like you just check them off. Those are standards that have to be authentically intertwined into instruction, into everything you do, and you incorporate that with the computer and with the devices and with teaching kids how to do that. Just like I see each of you sitting there at your station, you have a computer in front of you. It's part of what you're doing. You're not just on your computer, you're listening, you're taking notes, you're processing, but you're also utilizing that device. And that's what we're preparing students to do each and every day so that they know how to interact with the devices, not just play on them, but they're using them productively. And that's what page 7 really calls our attention to doing. Page 8 is the profile of the South Carolina graduate, and that's, again, what we're preparing students for in the future. So from the very beginning, starting in kindergarten, starting in preschool really, but in kindergarten specifically, we are beginning to develop that citizen for the future. I don't know what 10 years from now might look like. I know what it looks like now, and I know what 10 years ago looked like, and it's so different that I know that if we get behind, that we're going to have students who can't compete with those that are graduating from other places around us. So I did want to call that to your attention, and starting in 3rd grade, that's where you actually have words per minute in the standards. You start with 5 words per minute, and each year that goes up by 5 words. So with typing, of course, all of our testing is taking place on Chromebooks. So we start in kindergarten with FastBridge, which is a phonemic-based testing. And then in 1st grade, we start with MAP testing, and they're all on the computer. And we have to decide if we're not utilizing computers authentically within our instruction, we have to decide, are we going to test students on the computer to find out, well, they don't know how to use the computer? Or are we going to test them knowing that they know how to use the computer, and then we get true data to help us with instruction on whether they know reading, writing, and math? And I think that's the key piece here, is to understand that if we don't teach the computer and how to use it, then we end up, when we assess students, we don't get real data. We don't know whether they know how to read, write, or do math because they don't know how to use the computer. So they're sitting there trying to figure that out, and their process, it's like a Coca-Cola bottle. A Coca-Cola bottle, you can only fill it so far, or it'll start just spewing, right? Well, a person's brain, if they are overloaded with just the how to act and how to function, you never know what's really there in terms of their learning, because they're so frustrated and so anxious about what they're doing with the computer that they can't tell you what they truly know. And so that's important for us to understand about that. The next slide gives us the resources that we as a district, and then what the state provides for resources. There's a list there for those resources. Some schools have purchased some separate things specifically for their school, but for the most part, we stick to this list. Then I thought it was pretty interesting to look at our usage per day on an average usage. And I started to only give you the average for the district, but I thought it was important as I really looked at this, how consistent this data truly is from one place to another. You have a little variation, but it's very consistent from school 1 to school 13. And I purposely didn't put them in any order, but didn't put names or anything else. But it's each school in our district. But the average time in an elementary classroom is 21 minutes. And so that's not a large portion of their day. And that, I can't even narrow it down to 7:30 to 2:30. That's the whole day. That's when they're at home as well. So I can't drill any further than that. I tried, but I couldn't drill any further than that. Whenever you go to your secondary Chromebook usage, the average is 48. What I liked about this graph is if you go back to elementary, go to intermediate school, go to middle school, then go to high school, you'll see it gradually increase, which is what should happen because that's what's happening in real life. Whenever they go to a job, whenever they go to college, that's what we're preparing them for, and that's what truly should be happening. And so that's what I appreciated about this whenever I had that. Then I started thinking, what about parents? What if parents wanted to know what their children were doing on the Chromebooks? Like, what if they want to know? And so this is what, when a child logs into their Chromebook, we used somebody's child that we know, but anyway, we logged into their Chromebook, and that icon in the bottom right-hand corner is called their Analytics tab. And if you click on that Analytics tab, this is what you get. And it will show you all of the resources that the child has been using, how many minutes they've been on it, and how many times they've logged in. So the parent doesn't have to question what the student is doing. It's all right there for them. So I just thought it was important that you understood that Chromebooks are not play toys. Chromebooks are an essential piece of instruction to prepare students for the future that we know we want them to have. So I'll stand for any questions.
Ms. Huddle?
Prior to COVID, what grade did we issue Chromebooks?
We did not have Chromebooks until like 6th grade because we didn't have them in the elementary grades. We had computer labs with desktops in them that students did not know what they were doing on them.
I can appreciate that. I mean, I appreciate you doing this, and I mean, full disclosure, I'm probably the reason that you did this because I've been very persistent about it, and because what bothers me is I don't feel that our decision, and it's not just us, it's pretty much every school district in South Carolina, I don't feel like we took a purposeful approach to deciding to give individual devices to the younger kids. It was something we had to do for COVID. We didn't have a choice because we had virtual and hybrid and all that, and COVID's over. And I'm not concerned about high school or middle school. I'm not even concerned about children once they can read. But there's studies. I couldn't find one that said it helped with reading comprehension. I found a ton that said it didn't. It increases myopia, nearsightedness, and that starts in the first few minutes, that the researchers found. Handwriting ability, and I visit these schools, and I have noticed, and it might not just be the Chromebooks, but I've seen a personal, with my own two eyes, a deterioration in handwriting among like 2nd and 3rd graders from 4 years ago. And those are our COVID kids, right? And then distraction. What was really interesting is that they've done studies of what distracts students, and they find that these devices distract them even more than cell phones. And we've said, well, you can't have cell phones. So I guess that's all. I would really like us to look at, I know there's some other school districts that use iPads, for example, for the kindergartners and the 1st graders, but those are the ones I'm concerned about, is all of the negative things associated with them with our youngest children before they've learned how to read.
We do have touchscreen Chromebooks for our kindergarten students. So it's not iPads, but they're touch screens like an iPad for the Chromebooks. That's what we use for our kindergarten students. I appreciate your opinion. But a call back your attention to, it's 21 minutes a day on average that we're preparing them for how to use the Chromebook, so that when they give us the knowledge, they give us what they truly know. That's what I would.
And
would
I
call
understand
for.
that. I guess, again, we didn't study this. COVID happened, we did it. And so I guess all I'm suggesting is that we look at it, and not now, I mean, we have them, but talk to parents, look at, are there other alternatives that might be better in the future for our youngest children than a Chromebook, even a touchscreen. I just think we should look at it because, again, we never really looked at it. We just said, boom, we have to do this.
Ms. McCaskill, you mentioned that prior to COVID, we had computer labs, and you said that kids didn't know what to do with them. But I believe some of the schools still do have computer lab. So I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm just confused since.
What happens is they take their Chromebooks with them to their labs a lot of times. A lot of times we don't have the desktops any longer, and Mr. Davis can probably, he stepped away, never mind. But we don't have as many of those set up any longer, the actual labs. So the kids will take their Chromebooks with them, and they'll use those as part of their related arts area. So that one day a week, they'll go in and they'll get some additional instruction specifically on typing, various uses of the computer. So once a week in the elementary schools, they do have, that's one of their 5 related areas. We don't have a certified teacher there. It's a support staff member that actually runs that computer lab. It's a way of giving this, and a lot of our schools have gone away from doing that and using it as a maker space now, so they're incorporating more STEAM type activities versus the computer lab.
So if we're not necessarily using it as a computer lab, when are they learning how to type?
So that's part of what they do authentically throughout the day. So the computer lab itself does have a type-tastic program to help them with learning how to type. It's like you and I sat on typewriters and did that, but they do this through a program. But also they're authentically typing their papers as they're going throughout their day, and so they're learning that typing through that authentic learning.
I think if I had any concern, it would be the lack of structured learning how to type. I mean, I have 2 kids that have already had Chromebooks, and I'm not sure that I think that that's what they're doing. That's just my personal,
I understand that.
experience. So just something to think about. And then also, you show the time for how much time they're using on the Chromebook. Is that mandated that they're only using 21 minutes? So how do we, I hate to use the word control it, because that's not what I'm saying, but control it, that it's not being overly used, for lack of a better way to put it.
I agree. It's not a babysitter, and that's not what we want to make sure that that's not the case. But our elementary principals all agree with that same sentiment, and when they have conversations with their teachers, they're looking for that. When we do our classroom observations, I shared with y'all some of the classroom mosaic data, and there's a place in there that you actually mark if there are certain programs that are being utilized so that we can track to see what types of programs are being done. So through that observation cycle, that's how we would see that. But I agree with you. We do not want them to be used just to be sitting on computers, to be on computers. And, elementary, we actually took like the YouTube, we took that away. So elementary does not have access to that to just go on and search YouTube any longer. Because of that was a distraction. And so we're trying to limit those distractions the best that we can.
Do we have Mr. Bainham?
2 questions. First one is, you mentioned touchscreen Chromebooks. I know it can't be an issue for just my daughter, but with the special needs students, she gets frustrated trying to log in, especially with these new changes. She's got to learn a whole new password and the multi-factor. Are there options where they can be like bio login type situation?
I don't think we have a bio login, but we actually, we've got some iPads for special needs students. So depending on the needs of the child, the IEP team can decide on a different type of device for children.
Okay, that's good. And then, other than our AI program, are there any of the Chat GPT things that they can access from those Chromebooks, or is it strictly just our AI program?
We do not block Chat GPT. We do not block that currently.
Because there was an interesting study I saw over the past few weeks where, when school let out, usage of some of these AI programs fell off a cliff. So I don't know if there's any way to monitor that or look into it.
There is something we can monitor that for sure, but we have not as a district chosen to block those yet.
Do we have other questions? Scott?
Thank you, Ms. McCaskill. I just wanted to follow up, say I was in one of the elementary schools last week, and it was pretty much unannounced where I would go or visits, and I went to about 12 classrooms, first to fourth grade, and I saw one classroom using Chromebooks, and they were buddied up doing a math thing, and I talked to several teachers about it, and they seem to be very passionate about using it, for very specific purposes. You gave us a copy of the digital literacy standards. So who is responsible for teaching those, and how are teachers, schools, and school districts held accountable to those standards?
So really the responsibility, it's not like reader math, there's not that accountability for those. It's the citizen that we're producing in the end that is responsible for those, honestly. I mean, that's part of what we authentically need to teach, because we're teaching for the future for kids. Unfortunately, in the early stages, in the early grades, we're really teaching them how to use the computer to test, so that we're testing their knowledge about their skills versus the knowledge of the skill of the computer. But there is no true test for that. We do have, like I said, in the elementary grades, we do have a support staff person that once a week kids go to in terms of helping with some computer skills, but our classroom teachers are the ones teaching the computer skills to the students.
And I just want to point out, there is a real thing called expert-induced amnesia, and where people who get to a certain comfort level, they forget what it took to get to that point. And if you've ever tried to work with elderly with computers, or when you're brand new students, there's that hurdle to get over, and it just takes a lot longer to get there. So yeah, I think we all, want less device time if we can possibly get it, but certainly some of it's going to be necessary.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Ms. McCaskill, if you'll just confirm, just a recap. Am I correct in understanding what you were talking about with the computer lab? Is it's based on your observation, and you made the statement that those students, when we use computer labs, weren't as prepared. Is it correct in your opinion that that's more of an obsolete model of instruction at this point in time? We've kind of bypassed that.
Yes.
And has there been any observation from either teachers, and I know and I don't mean like a specific, it happened once, or in general, that would rise to a level of concern from either teachers, administrators, or anyone in the schools, that we've seen our elementary school kids kind of abusing the Chromebooks or the screen time, or kind of misusing it. Have we observed that to a noticeable degree?
We have not, to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
Ms. Huddle?
I do want to go back to the keyboarding. I just really, want to echo Ms. Snipes. I think I heard a little concern in there. And my kids are old, they're not even kids anymore, but they learned keyboarding at Chapin Elementary School, and they could out-type with their eyes closed. They were, literally 75, 80 words a minute, and they learned to do it the right way. And I, we went to a high school today, and you see kids doing this because they never learned how to type correctly. So I also just want to express, I share her concern that I think when you, and it kind of piggybacks on what Mr. Herring said too, sometimes if you got to learn it the right way from the beginning. So I know we have a lot going on and all that, but I feel like we're just kind of giving them the devices and not really teaching them. We might be teaching them how to turn it on and log in and all that good stuff, but it's really, they're going to be a lot better served if they can type faster when they get older.
And we do try that. I will say, we do that with a program with the support person when they go once a week. I'm sure many of you, all of you probably know what an elementary classroom is like. The elementary classroom teacher just really doesn't have time in her day to sit there and teach that keyboarding skill necessarily. So I do understand what you're saying. I just hope that you understand the bigger picture of that classroom as well.
I don't think the expectation, I can't say for Ms. Huddle, but I know when I brought it up, I get that. I don't have that expectation, maybe from the baseline teacher, but I do think that that's something that we're missing, even if the computer lab model that I had when I came through school, which is where I learned how to type, and I was one of those people who could probably type with my eyes closed, and my kids ask me all the time, how can you type so fast? But back then you had to learn, ASDF, you just know, and then it becomes innate in you. And so I think that I get it, technology is changing, the world is different, and electronic usage is going to be a thing, but I do wish the typing component was there as well, because I hear what you're saying about kind of learning it organically, but I don't know, obviously I'm not in the classroom, but just based on my own kids and nieces and nephews, I don't know if I think that is necessarily what's happening at all. So, it's just something to think about. And Mr. Bainham wanted to say something, I'm sorry.
It was something that we've all probably got emails about, and you may have some sort of system in place. So when teachers are out, is there like a standard that we may implement if we don't already, where they can have like virtual lessons prepared for the substitutes to, play or implement, or some sort of arrangements? Because it doesn't seem to be consistent from, like, parents will say, they're just given busy work, or they're just told to do this or do that. Is that something that we have set up, or we could
don't
look
have
into?
virtual lessons for substitutes, but there are lesson plans left for substitutes. Typically, for a substitute, you will get review work. You're not going to get new learning because we're not certain of the knowledge of the substitute that may come into the room, but you typically would have, some review work that students are working on.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCaskill. I just wanted to follow up with the last slide here, and just as we talk about this, I want to point our attention again to Ms. McCaskill and her team set up those expectations for all the classes. And if you look at the kindergartner expectations for our earliest learners, I think when we took typing, we took it in middle school or junior high school. We did not take it at kindergarten or first grade. I want you to look at what we ask our kindergarten teachers to work on. It is handwriting. It's capital and lowercase. It's syllables and breaking down. It's the things that we need to install in kindergarten. There's not a lot of time for the Chromebooks or any kind of devices, because a lot of it is breaking down sound, syllables, handwriting. It's dexterity things. So I think we are impacted by that third grade, right? That they have to do the writing and the selecting on the Chromebooks by those third grade scores. But I encourage parents to really go onto the academics website, look at the success criteria, see all of the things that teachers are asking your children to do, and I think we'll be comforted by knowing, okay, this is what they're expected to do, this is how I can support them at home. So that's our D5 story. That concludes the superintendent's report, and I stand for any questions.
Do we have any additional questions? Ms. Huddle?
I was just curious, and this might be a Ms. McCaskill question, about how the letters is going, and if there's any changes this year.
Right, this year, we will actually finish a large number of our kindergarten through third grade teachers will finish. So many of our teachers, most of our teachers are in their second year. So our fourth and fifth grade teachers are starting this year for the first year. And then our special ed teachers in the middle school are starting this year as well. So at the end of this school year, we will have probably around 90% of our K through 3 teachers should be finished with letters and completed that.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, Dr. Ross. Thank you, Ms. McCaskill.